Hey guys, before we start, just a quick reminder. This channel is purely for entertainment purposes. We don't promote any superstitions or anything like that. Alright, let's get into tonight's story. It was December, and the cold night air had this weird pink tint to it. At exactly midnight, Penn Station in Philadelphia was completely deserted. The New York Express, the train that usually runs between Philly and New York, was running 9 hours late. Yeah, you heard that right. 9 hours. Most passengers had already bailed, catching other trains or finding different ways to get home. But Jake was still standing there on that empty platform, waiting. Looks like I'm the only idiot left at this station, he muttered to himself, exhaustion weighing heavy on his shoulders. But man, after the day I've had, I just don't have the energy to figure out another way home. Soon as this train shows up, I'm out of here. As Jake looked around the desolate platform, he noticed a few homeless people sleeping under the footbridge stairs. That's when one of them shuffled over to him. "What are you doing here at this hour?" the homeless man asked, his voice raspy. "There's no train coming tonight." "The New York Express is coming," Jake replied. "The one that's 3 hours late." "Ah, that train." The man's eyes grew distant. "You're really gonna ride that train? At night?" He paused, staring at Jake with an intensity that made his skin crawl. "Listen to me carefully, kid. Watch yourself on that train. Don't talk to strangers. Don't." His cryptic warnings were making Jake feel weird, almost hypnotized. He was so fixated on the homeless man's face that he didn't even notice the train had arrived. Before Jake could respond, the train's horn blared, and it started moving. He was the only passenger boarding from this station, and the train was about to leave him behind. At the last second, Jake sprinted and barely managed to jump into the last car. As he caught his breath by the door, he looked back at the platform. The homeless man was still standing there, smiling in the most mysterious, unsettling way. The sudden sprint had Jake gasping for air. He leaned against the door for a moment, trying to catch his breath, then made his way to an empty seat. He closed his eyes, and the cold wind from the window felt like it was touching his soul. But then, he felt it. Someone nearby was breathing, heavily, right next to him. Jake opened his eyes and looked around. Nobody. The entire compartment was completely empty. "That's weird," he thought. "The Philly to New York train is always packed. You can barely find standing room, let alone an empty car." The emptiness was making him increasingly anxious. He stood up and scanned the compartment more carefully. That's when he spotted someone sitting by the other door. A man, alone. Relief washed over Jake. At least he wasn't completely alone. He walked over and sat on the seat across from the stranger. The man looked at Jake and smiled, but it was off. His eyes were empty, hollow. "Must be empty because the train's so late, huh?" Jake tried to make conversation. The man just kept staring at him. Didn't say a word. "Okay, that's creepy," Jake thought. He closed his eyes again, trying to relax, but this uncomfortable feeling kept growing in his chest. He turned to look out the window. Nothing but thick darkness outside. The train had been moving for a while now, but they hadn't passed a single station. That was really starting to freak him out. "What are you looking at?" Jake jumped. The man's voice came out of nowhere. I was just wondering why we haven't stopped at any stations yet." "I know exactly what you're thinking," the man said. His smile grew wider. "No station has come, and none will. You got on the wrong train." "Wrong? No way. I got on the right train." "Did you notice something?" The man leaned forward. "Why didn't anyone else board this train except you? Why is this entire car empty?" Jake's heart started racing. He had a point. He stood up and walked to the door, peering into the darkness. There was nothing outside, no lights, no landmarks, nothing. And there was no way to get to the other cars. No connecting door. He walked back to his seat, and when he looked up, the man's head was crushed. Blood was pouring down his face. His eyes were bulging out of their sockets. "Oh my God!" Jake screamed and scrambled backward, pressing himself against the corner by the door. He squeezed his eyes shut. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes. The man was standing right there, looking completely normal again. "What happened? Why were you screaming like that? You okay, man?" "Your face. Just now. There was blood everywhere. Your head was..." "Oh, that blood," the man said casually. "That was from years ago. From an old injury. You must have seen that." "An old injury from years ago? How would I?" "Yeah, about 20 years ago. I was traveling on this exact train. That night, the train was late too, just like tonight. There were only a couple of other passengers with me on the platform. When I got on, a group of drunk guys boarded behind me. The whole train was empty, but they started fighting with me over a seat. Can you believe that? When I argued back, they threw me off the moving train." Jake's blood ran cold. "My head hit an electrical pole," the man continued, his voice eerily calm. "Blood just gushed out. I fell onto the tracks, and before I could even get up, another train came through, ran right over me." He paused, his face showing genuine sadness. "Ever since then, I've been searching this train for those guys. I don't know when I'll finally find them." Jake forced a nervous laugh. That's a really good story, man. But if a train ran over you, you wouldn't be alive right now to tell me about it." "Who said I'm alive?" The words hung in the air like ice. "I'm dead." "That's not funny," Jake snapped, his voice shaking. "I don't like jokes like that." He turned to look out the window, desperately hoping to see a station. Any station. But the train just kept going. Not stopping. Not slowing down. "You can keep waiting," the man's voice came from behind him. "But this train isn't going to stop." Jake turned around, and the man's appearance was changing. His face was transforming back into that horrible, mangled mess he'd seen before. Blood, crushed skull, bulging eyes. Panicking, Jake yanked the emergency brake chain. The train lurched violently, throwing him to the floor. The man was standing over him now. "What do you want from me?" Jake screamed. "I haven't done anything to you. I don't even know you. Please, just let me go." But the man kept coming closer. Blood dripped onto Jake's face. He felt like he was going to pass out from sheer terror. Then suddenly, the man stepped back. Jake gasped for air. "Can you really help me?" the man asked quietly. "Just let me go. I'll do anything. Anything you want." Jake was shaking uncontrollably, staring at what looked like a living corpse. "I need to be freed. Can you do that for me? Can you give me peace?" "Peace? How am I supposed to do that?" Jake's heart was hammering in his chest. He knew he wasn't in any normal situation. The train, this man, the entire night, it all felt like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. "This train," the man said slowly, "has been running since that night. Every time, a new passenger boards. And then they live the same fate, over and over." Jake's mind was reeling. Was he going to be trapped on this train forever too? "You can free me if you can solve this train's mystery. You're the only one who can get off this train. You're the last passenger. But," he paused, "there's a price." "What price?" The man looked deep into Jake's eyes. "You have to take my place. If you want to escape this train, you have to play the role of the passenger who dies every time. Your freedom lies in that. But your journey will end here. The terror in Jake's eyes was clear now. He didn't know what to do. Outside, there were no stations. The train wasn't stopping. And the mystery in this man's words was driving him insane. Time's running out. Choose. Either you free me and become part of this train forever, or your story ends at the next destination anyway. Jake had only two options. Become part of this cursed train and free this man, or become a ghost on this train himself for eternity. He gathered every ounce of courage he had left and looked out the window one last time. But now there was only dense darkness, and the sound of the train merged with his own heartbeat. His mind went numb. Slowly, he turned toward the stranger. "Okay, I'll free you." The moment those words left Jake's mouth, the train suddenly stopped. Despite his terror, Jake felt a cold wind fill the entire compartment. The man smiled and slowly began to fade away into the air. "Now you're the new passenger of this train. Your freedom will come too, when someone else boards." Jake was left standing alone. The train doors were open, but he knew he could never leave. At the next station, a new passenger would be waiting, and maybe one day someone else would pay the price for his freedom. The train started moving again, but now Jake knew this journey had no destination, just waiting for the next passenger. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.